Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We greatly appreciate you being here. I'm Rep. Deb Ruggiero. I am so honored to be standing with so many brave, courageous colleagues in the House of Representatives. The Reform Caucus is a group of Democrats, some more conservative than others, some moderate, like myself, and some progressive, but we are all joined together for one common goal, and that is to create open, fair, and transparent legislative process. We've been meeting for the past 5 months. We've been discussing changes to the House rules. We've been talking with our constituents, many people in the public, and we've been listening to input. And you know, for many of us who've been here for a number of years, it's just experience, firsthand experience and observation. We're going to be making 4 recommendations to the House rules and advocating for the passage of some good government bills, including the Office of the Inspector General and the item veto. This is a very broad support with many people on these issues who are looking to change the way business is done at the State House. I would like to just add that there has been some positive changes in the House rules over the last couple of years, in recent years. The 10 p.m. curfew, and of course the streaming the legislative process, making it open to the public. You know, as Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, real change, enduring change, happens one step at a time. And we believe this is a good first step. So this afternoon, several of my colleagues, some who serve on the House Rules Committee, Representative Jason Knight and Representative Katie Kazarian will be speaking, as well as a couple of our new reps, Rep. Kislak and Rep. Kazar. They've done some extensive work on House rules. So starting us off is Representative Kislak, starting us off on the suspension of the rules, and then each person will introduce the next person to talk about some of the ideas that we have. We also have a press release, which we will hand out, so you can take really good notes, Ted, or you can actually reply here with the press release. So thank you again for joining us, and Rep. Kislak, it's nice to say that.
All for being here today. I am a new representative. This is day 2 for me. I'm also a longtime advocate here at the State House, so I have seen how that house operates for many years. And we're here today talking about the rules. This was one of the surprise issues of my campaign. At nearly every house party I had, somebody asked me a question about how we can make the House of Representatives more democratic, more responsive to both the members and the public, more transparent. And that is one of my priorities here today as a representative. The rules are only effective if we follow them, and many of us know at the end of session, it is traditional for a few people to decide to suspend the rules. The current rules allow for the suspension by the agreement of the majority and minority leader, and that's what is typically done, which creates a bit of chaos at the end of session, frankly, where committees' hearings can be posted moments ahead, where bills can pop on and off of the agenda. A great many of the members don't like it, the public doesn't like it, and we are here advocating today that we control that situation by a rules change a little bit better to help manage the floor better. We are proposing requiring a vote of the members, 2/3 of the members would be required to suspend the rules. This is to increase the transparency of the way we govern ourselves, but also to maintain the flexibility of being able to suspend the rules if 2/3 of us think that that's important at that time, and we would go on the record and say that that is something that we want and need to do at that point in time. That's the first proposal, and who am I turning this over to? Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. As Rebecca said, my name is Representative Kazarian, and one of the hallmarks of good government is transparency. For that reason, I strongly support the rule change that would require all Sub-A bill amendments to be made public for 48 hours. 48 hours, it's not much to ask of a legislative body that meets 6 months out of the year. As it stands now, a bill that is introduced by a legislator in January can be changed during the last minutes of session and rushed to the floor for a vote. Oftentimes, no one is more surprised by the changes than the sponsor of the original bill. The legislators, and most of all the public, have little to no chance to consider what is being done to the laws we will all have to live by. Let's be consistent. If the original bill is made public, if the original bill is given the time to be carefully analyzed and discussed, shouldn't we at least give 48 hours to consider any proposed changes that would have been made to that original bill? Frankly, our citizens must wonder, what are these changes and who is making them? Citizens have the right to know, and they have the right to be assured that we legislators are all doing our due diligence. This is what true democracy looks like, and this proposed rule would give us closer to that ideal. The fact of the matter is, other states have even more stringent consideration procedures before voting on bill amendments. The citizens of Rhode Island deserve transparency. 48 hours is the least we could do. Next, it's my pleasure to introduce my colleague, Representative Jason Knight.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I have an easy one, but before I talk about what my particular rule suggestion is, I just want to talk a little bit about the process by which we got here, because it is admittedly an esoteric topic, right? It's the rules of how the Rhode Island House of Representatives operates, and I think there's very, very few people out there who could just rattle that off and say, "Oh, here it is." So it is a esoteric is the word, but sort of far from the public eye topic. Nevertheless, like the spark plugs in your car, it's key to the process, and it is 100% impactful on our democracy. So what we did here was to try to think about what really makes this better. I mean, every legislative body, they really do need some leadership to make the trains run on time. Every House of Representatives needs a speaker, every Senate needs a president, or whatever they call that person, because there has to be sort of an organizing structure around those legislative chambers. What I've seen is that over time, the rules in Rhode Island have developed so that almost every significant decision in the House of Representatives particularly has basically been sucked into the Speaker of the House's office. And it doesn't matter who the Speaker is, it doesn't matter who occupies the office right now. The fact of the matter is that the office itself has a tremendous amount of power with no checks, right? And that checks is phrased, it's on purpose, because what's the one thing that makes American democracy really work? It's checks and balances. And in this case, we thought about constructing these rules in such a way so that we would restore some checks and balances so that you could have the leadership structure to make things happen the way they're supposed to happen, to make the trains run on time, but at the same time give the elected officials in the rest of the House of Representatives an important check over that leadership, so that if they get out of balance with each other, then there are opportunities there to have a conversation, to perhaps be have the representatives be a check on the leadership structure. So there's lots of ideas that you could do with this. We really tried to think about everything, and we have in our back pocket probably 25 really good suggestions, but the ones that we're bringing about here today give us the most bang for our buck. Suspension of the rules being a huge one, and the thing that I'm going to talk about right now is easy, easy, easy. This is an efficiency thing. It's not necessarily about checks and balances. But it is every bill, when it's introduced, we want to keep it alive for the entire term. The House of Representatives and the Senate, we all come in for 2-year terms. It's the same people. And we want to put in, if somebody puts in a bill in January of the first year, it should stay alive through the entire session, so that when that committee has a hearing on the bill, they have that hearing once, everyone gets an opportunity to have a say, and we don't have to do it again the next year. Because speaking as someone who sits on House Judiciary and having to go through very contentious hearings every year on very hot topics, particularly gun control and reproductive rights, I think that we could save all the committees some time by having those hearings once and deliberating over those bills for the entire 2-year period if necessary. That's my report. And next I'd like to introduce Representative Liana Kassar.
Thanks, Jason. Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. So I think one of the pleasures I've had since sort of becoming part of this caucus is the fact that I am getting to work with a subgroup of the House of Representatives that's committed to transparent government, efficient government, and government that works for the people of Rhode Island. And I think all of our recommendations do that. 75 talented people were elected to the House of Representatives, and I think as a democratic body, it'll be helpful for us to continue to work to make it function more democratically. So the suggestion I'll be talking about is the discharge petition. Whenever a bill has the support of the majority of representatives, so 38 or more House members, the bill clearly has enough support to pass the House and deserves a vote on the floor. Our recommendation is that any prime sponsor of a bill would be allowed to circulate a discharge petition. If the sponsor of the bill has gathered 38 or more signatures on the discharge petition, which would happen, the sponsor would have the ability to obtain the signatures throughout the normal course of business. It would not be a special situation. But the committee would then take a vote to either recommend that the full House pass the bill, or they would permit the bill to go to the floor without a recommendation. The committee at that time would not be able to hold the bill for further study. I, like Rep. Kislak, heard at the doors frequently. I was surprised at how many constituents knew the rules well enough to say, can we stop holding bills for further study? So this would be one way to address the concerns of many voters. But importantly, the petition would also not be required to kind of, quote, sit on the desk. I have been there, so I haven't seen this actually happen. I don't know that this has been used, but as is the current rule. So what we'd like to see is if the majority of reps are ready to vote on a bill, that it go to the floor for a vote. Thank you, and I think I've got
Really, accountability, transparency, and efficiency in government. Any questions that anybody
Yes,
might have?
Representative, how do you take this from being a press availability with a minority of representatives to having some success on the floor or on the third floor?
Your help.
I'm not here to help.
Actually, no, we can't. Katie, sure. But you're here to help get the message out.
No, I
We are going to
understand.
also talk to our
It's easy
colleagues
a
as
little
well.
bit, but
That's an excellent question. As somebody that's looking at their fourth term at the State House, I've seen time and time again that these 4 issues that we're raising have been an issue on the floor to many legislators that might not be in the room today. So what we're looking to do is to put these out there and then work with our colleagues to try and get their support, gain some momentum in the House as well. So while everybody that supports these might not be in the room today, when we vote on the rules, we'll look to gain support from there. Anybody else want to add?
Quick thing.
Yeah.
So the process is this. Every 2 years, there's a new term, a new speaker is elected, new rules are adopted. So this is the opportunity for us to bring forward these ideas, and now is the exact time to be speaking about these things. We're hopeful that more of our colleagues will join us. We know that there is broad support for these types of proposals in our conversations that we've had over the years. We know that there is broad support for
but
these
2 years
proposals.
ago, wasn't there an effort to change the rules and there wasn't enough support?
There typically is 1 or 2 people who stand up and say it's time for a change. Now we number far more than 2 or 3, and I think that there's a real momentum building for just this type of change. So, we're holding this to show our constituents that what we said on the doors is what we mean to do when we're up here, and we're hoping that our colleagues will join us.
Can I ask one of the more veteran reps? This is kind of arcane, but how does a discharge petition currently work? No disrespect for Representative Kazarian's explanation, but I don't know if I've ever even seen one in my strategy. I was thinking maybe Representative Jello could explain what would happen or how it would work now.
As the white-haired member of the...
I didn't say that.
And I am entering my 14th term, so... still learning. But I remember one discharge petition. Nick Gorham was working on that to get the Ethics Commission revisions onto the floor for a vote. And at that time, he was walking around with the petition. After that, and he was not able to get enough signatures. After that, the rules were changed so that the petition had to stay on the desk, which meant that it was right under leadership's nose the whole time.
Rep. Jello, as you say, you've been in the House for many years, so you have a long-term perspective on this. If all these proposals have such merit and are in the public interest, what is your explanation for why they have not moved forward to this point?
I think the public hasn't been paying as much attention in the past. I don't remember in the past walking door to door and being asked, what is this thing called hold for further study? What does that mean? The public is watching much more carefully, and that's partly because we're streamed now. It's partly because more people are coming to testify on gun control and reproductive freedom than I've seen in my time in the House of Representatives. I've seen really great crowds on gay rights issues and now on gun control and reproductive rights. But those issues are what brings out people, or what bring out people. And I think people are much more aware than these.
A lot of these issues are things that Republican members have mentioned at different times. Were they invited?
I don't believe that we invited them today, but some of us have been talking with Republican members of the House, and I believe that we'll probably be speaking in support of the same sorts of issues and ideas.
Also, I just wanted to add that several of our members have worked with Common Cause and John Marion on some of these rules, not that they've signed off on them, but these are just some things that we spoke with the Common Cause. And I think every politician knows that Common Cause is obviously doing the right thing and in the right direction, and hopefully they've had ideas in the past that took a little bit of time to grasp by some politicians. And hopefully these will resonate, and you're going to keep bringing these to the forefront to get people to realize that they have to move and have to make changes. And I agree that there are more people coming to testify on some of these bills that he recommended. I think it comes right from the top down from our president, and people are getting more and more involved in politics, and they're starting to look at it more closely locally. And again, that's why we wanted to go with Common Cause, just to review some of our points that we're presenting here today. So thank you very much.
I just want to echo that so much of this is bipartisan. It's not Republican, it's not about being progressive, it's not about being Democrat or conservative. It's about what's right for the people of Rhode Island. And what I think you heard, and this is what I was alluding to, Bill, people are getting more and more educated. They're really paying attention. When I went door to door, I couldn't believe some of the questions people were asking. And I said, wow, that's a real deep knowledge. Well, I read the newspapers, I'm online, I mean, people are aware. So I think just like a lot of the social issues that have happened over the last 4 or 5 years in our state and this country, these are issues that are now, they take time. You know, it takes courage to change someone's heart, and it's one step at a time when you try to do change, but people are paying attention. All of you are paying attention. And we have colleagues who are aware that some of these are really good initiatives. And it's not, as I said, it's not about being progressive or conservative or moderate. It's about being an elected who wants to do the right thing for his or her constituents.
But you're trying to put pressure on a guy who's elected by one district, who has made it clear that he is not relinquishing any power, as any speaker before him would have been in the same position. And what the people say in the street is in some ways irrelevant to what happens between the third floor and the chamber.
Yeah, never underestimate the power of the public. And maybe you haven't been hearing it the way that we all have been, but he is now the representative, the speaker of all 74 of us, whether we elected him or not. He is the one who's supposed to be mirroring our desires that we bring up. It's a representative democracy, and we are here being the voice of the people that elected us and put us into office, and he needs to then be the voice of those in this chamber who elected him and put him into office. And we're here today to say the public is being heard, And the members who put him in office, whether we voted for him or not, he still has to represent those of us in the chamber. We're speaking, and if he chooses not to listen, the pressure's only going to continue to build. Now, it is a press conference.
Are there any lawmakers who support this who couldn't be in attendance today, or is this the full group who's formally endorsed these rules changes?
I can't speak for other colleagues, nor would I ever.
But if
There were other people that work with us, and they're not here today.
Yes,
this doesn't
there are other reps who work with us who couldn't be here because
That's what I mean.
of
Are there
time.
absent
Oh, I
lawmakers?
thought you were
Is
asking
this the sum total of everyone who supports this?
No, there are a few more
there
that
are
are not
others.
here today.
There are others.
Other committees.
You know, as you know, we're a part-time legislature, so sometimes getting here this early can be hard.
But you're trying to achieve a mass to influence their leadership. Back to Patrick's question, why aren't the Republicans here? You didn't even reach out to them? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah.
This was our Reform Caucus, but go ahead.
So we've had we've had a lot of conversations over the past couple months with members of the Republican caucus, and the availability today, I think, was put out there. I don't think that there was a specific invitation for them to attend, and part of that is being respectful of their position as the opposition. I think I don't want to say that they are allies in this cause before they say that they're allies in this cause, because that would be presumptuous. And frankly, an invitation may have been well received, but if there wasn't one, it was simply an oversight. To be sure, there are other members in the body, in the House of Representatives, who fully support this rules push, and there's a lot of people coming at it from different directions.
And also, it's not our first and only press conference. There will be others. This is the first of several. So I think this will also evolve. This is a very organic process. In my 10 years, I've never seen anything quite like this.
Awesome. If I may, you asked, how we plan on getting this further when there aren't technically enough of us to have it passed now. And I think it is abundantly clear based on however many people voted for the rules changes last year. I believe there were 10 or 11, 2 Democrats joined in with the Republicans. And again, now we have 19 people, strong Democrats, who are saying that they want rules change. And a lot of it is just fear, right? But this year, the Speaker has promised that there will be no retaliation for people who speak out against him, that he's not going to take people off committees or move their parking spots or their desks. And when some of that fear is relinquished a little bit, more and more people are going to be confident in that decision to be a part of the rules change. So if this session goes the way we've been told it's going to, then this really shouldn't be an issue, because once you remove that fear, I think you're going to find that a lot of our colleagues are on the same terms as the rest of us.
Thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned. More to follow.